This episode is brought to you by Indigo Sundry Soap Company. Clean soap, cleaner body.
Well, Bright Hearthers, you know the drill. Here in our On Being Human series, we've been talking about 4 aspects of life where a man or a woman can grow and improve and become more fruitful as a result. And those have been the physical, the spiritual, the social, and the vocational. We are deep into that last category now as we round out this series over the next few episodes, talking about the vocational. Last week, we talked about the central vocation of the woman as the helper of her husband and of all of the many tributaries of that good calling and design from God. With that entry in the series, we've now talked about what vocations are, as well as the central vocations of the husband, the man, and the wife, and the woman in the productive Christian life and household. Now we're going to turn to some big principles that will hopefully be of help in both of those categories for the man and the woman in bearing good fruit in their different vocations. So this episode's really about mindset. It's about the kind of spirit to take to those vocations, agency, patience, grit, and a lot more. So we hope this episode really spurs you further up and further in when it comes to all of the central things in your life, those central duties and callings from God that He's put there and the good works that He's put in front of you to walk in day by day in your life. So join us in this episode of Bright Hearth as we talk about the spirit a man and a woman must bring to their God-given vocations.
Welcome back to Bright Hearth, everybody. We are here and spirited.
We are spirited.
Oh, so spirited.
Lexi was just asking if I would explain another short video to her. That's what was happening.
No, I was being explained to against my will about another Alex Jones video.
So she could understand a meme reference that I made. She looked at me with dewy eyes and she said, can you please explain that meme?
Have you ever
me?
Listened to an Alex Jones episode or an interview or anything with him? Or is it only just like through memes?
Okay. I've seen like 5 memes. The Justin Bieber clip was phenomenal.
I have actually listened to Alex Jones.
Bieber. But you didn't get my vampire reference. So
I mean, I did. I immediately thought of the interview I listened to him make about the documentary that he made that was taken down.
Which one of us is really the connoisseur, would you say?
I don't know if I want to be known as an Alex Jones connoisseur.
I don't know if I do either, but memes are kind of like the distillation of someone's thought.
Okay.
Put into really the highest form of media.
Consumed the Cliff Notes version is what you're saying?
No. More like the apotheosis of the medium. You know what I mean? There's really no way of making it sound intellectual. I just thought it was funny. Okay, guys. That's not, believe it or not, this episode of Bright Hearth is not about Alex Jones memes or clips, nor do I really recommend them necessarily.
Hold up. You literally said on Bright Hearth in the last few months.
Go ahead.
One of Alex Jones' diatribes was so life-changing for you. And you were being serious.
I challenge anybody to wake up in the morning and watch his 2-minute rant about Magellan and Justin Bieber and not be a better person. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we need a little more Alex Jones autists.
You know what? There's going to be an episode someday where the whole cold open's just going to be that clip.
The thing is, we don't fly our conspiracy flags. I try
flags
not
out
to.
Front.
I actually pretend when people ask me in real life, I'm like, I just pretend like I don't know what they're talking about with conspiracies because I don't even want to let it all out there.
You're like the meme of the stick people dancing in the room, and they're like the one in the corner's like they don't know I'm a niche micro internet celebrity.
I'm not.
You're thinking in your head, they don't know that I know all about these conspiracies. They just figured out about, and then actually the other people dancing or their thought bubble says we totally know that Lexi already knows all about this. She's just pretending.
I don't know. I just don't even
tell me about.
I have a few friends that I will talk to about that sort of stuff, and that's kind of it because of
what is the 5G doing to the birds?
No, even more than that.
Tell me, are birds real?
You gotta get.
It took her a while. It took her a while to answer. She knows.
I was actually thinking about have my views on the heart changed over the years when you brought up 5G. So
do you mean like the heart, like the pump in the middle of your body that pumps blood? It pumpily around?
If it does, yes. That's what I
I know
meant.
Lexy's views on these things. The number of times I've heard Lexy say the heart is not a pump
I don't know.
is at least 5 times, which is a lot because most people have never said that even once.
Yeah.
That's
Anyways,
not what this
that's
episode of
not-
Bright Hearth is about.
that's
Welcome
not.
back, listeners. We're glad you're here. We hope that you've been enjoying this tasteful selection of Bright Hearth episodes that we have been curating for you and delivering to your eardrums really week after week here. And that's pretty much the only introduction. This episode really just has one question,
What is it?
and we're going to discuss it for the whole time
Okay.
because there's a lot there. We've been talking about vocation. We've been talking about the man, the woman, the head, and the helper. We've been talking a lot about what vocations are. And so now it's just, we're asking the question, what spirit does the man and the woman, what do they need to bring to their vocations for maximal fruitfulness, to please God, to be maximally fruitful in their vocations? And there are many answers to that. I think we'll talk through a bunch of them and talk about why they matter to the man, why they matter to the woman, and how in particular. So any last thoughts before we,
Any last thoughts?
any final words
Any first thoughts?
before we get into the discussion? Then we'll get to your first thoughts.
No, I don't think
Last thoughts on Alex Jones memes.
so. No,
Then
move on.
first thoughts.
Move on.
Okay.
Move on.
We've talked about this one a lot. I know we've talked about it a lot with respect to the ladies. It's true for the men as well. And the first answer that I want to discuss is the idea of a growth mindset.
Oh, yeah.
A growth mindset. This is the spirit. When I say the spirit of a thing, by the way, everybody, I'm not just talking about like your immaterial soul. I'm talking about the vibe. I'm talking about the aura. I'm trying to speak to Gen Z here.
No.
The aura that you bring. The spirit that you bring to a thing is the general attitude and vibe that you bring to it. Okay, now Gen Z is all tuned in. A growth mindset.
Yes. Now I know what you mean.
What is it? What Lexy didn't even know what this episode was going to be about until this moment, even though I've told her this like 10
No,
times.
I knew what you meant, but I wasn't getting there with it. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, now we're here.
Now
We're
you're
locked
talking
in.
my
Now you guys
language.
know that Lexy doesn't know the outline of the show. She's just
No,
as
we went
along.
over it yesterday.
She's along for the ride, just like you, the listener. She's here. She's like, oh, that's an interesting
To be
one. We should
fair, I
talk
was
about that.
probably having 4 conversations at once. What?
You've been bringing a certain spirit to your workouts. I can see from your bicep muscle over there.
Okay.
Anyway, not to flirt on the air, a growth mindset. What is it? Why does it matter for the ladies?
A growth mindset is just the belief that you actually can grow your capacity in some sort of a way. Not that you will ever be like some other person over there, but that there is room for growth and that your brain can actually change. And it's not, I mean, really, historically, I think it was in the Victorian era, we were like so hard on genetics. Like you're just born that way and that's it. There's no room for improvement at all. And this honestly led to a lot of things that were very harmful, like eugenics in some ways. But now science, and I think it's a Christian principle too, not just something that science can prove, is that we actually God has created our bodies and our minds in such a way that we can actually cultivate and grow within our God-given dispositions. There's boundaries, good boundaries even to that. You literally can't wake up a different personality on January 1st every year, but you can spend the next 12 months cultivating, laying down new habits, weeding out old ones, all for the glory of the Lord and the good of those around you.
Why is it that most soaps and cleaning products, ironically, don't contain clean ingredients? Indigo Sundry's Soap Company is helping families stay clean and healthy by starting with the most important step in cleanliness, soap. Their cold-pressed soap bars, including clay bars and tallow bars, are made from all natural ingredients that don't have any harmful chemicals. And they smell great. Visit indigosundrysoap.com and order today. And hey, subscribe for regular shipments and get 10% off every time.
Home and Hearth started simply with a mom, dad, and their 2 kids making clean, natural alternatives for women who wanted something better. Through that process came the creation of the Cycle Support Tincture Set. 4 herbal blends, 1 for each phase of your cycle, designed to help you reconnect with your body's natural rhythm. Handcrafted with organic herbs that ease cramps, balance mood, support hormones, and bring calm throughout the month. Every bottle is handmade with care with high-quality ingredients. Get the Cycle Tincture Set at shophomeandhearth.com/bright and use code BRIGHT for 15% off your order this Christmas.
In a world that seems to be at war against goodness, truth, and beauty, handmade art is more important than ever. Ella's Lines is an illustration studio rooted in faith and creativity, creating whimsical, meaningful artwork that tells stories and brings beauty into everyday life. From children's book illustrations to tailor-made commissions, each piece is crafted to encourage faith and inspire warmth and wonder. Commission Ella to illustrate your next project at ellaslines.com.
That's what I think of when I think of growth mindset.
That's exactly right. A growth mindset recognizes that you have been given certain things, both in your environment and history. You had the parents that you had the siblings that you had, the upbringing that you had, the education that you had. Every day up to this day was the way that it was. And some aspects of that were great and a gift, and some aspects of that were bad and probably actively harmful. Mm-hmm. You are the person that you are in terms of your physical body. You have genetic predispositions to certain strengths and weaknesses. Your intellect on down to how fast you can run and how tall you're going to be. Mm-hmm. Yep, you were given that. And there was a range even up to this very day where the way that you ate and how you've worked out and exercised and the way you've treated your body has interplayed with that genetic hand that you were dealt and turned genes off and on and did a bunch of epigenetic things. That all factors into who you are today when you woke up. You have certain friends who have taught you certain things. You've listened to certain teachers and influencers. You've gone to a certain church. You've heard certain teaching on the scriptures. Maybe you were a cradle Christian. Maybe you were a complete pagan. Like, all of those things are true. You were dealt a certain thing, and then you took what you were dealt every day between then and now, and you did a bunch of stuff. But a growth mindset is the mindset that I can take that stuff and I can choose today and tomorrow and the next day until I die to either grow with it and interrogate some of those things and take them to their maximum potential, or I can take them to the bottom, because someone with a huge gift, a bunch of gifts in a bunch of areas, they could take all of that and absolutely squander it.
Yeah.
And do nothing or worse, they could harm a bunch of people with all their great gifts. You know what I mean? So a growth mindset, you're right, is just this idea that you really actively ponder in your mind and think, I can grow, improve, I can bear good fruit, and I can bear better fruit than I did last year and the year before and the year before that, if I will obey the Lord, walk in faith, believe him, put in effort, crucify my sin, put off my vices, learn new virtues and habits. It's a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Particularly for women in their vocation of helper, wife, homemaker, all these things, mother. Where in particular can this growth mindset, what are some of the big areas that have helped you? Because I think you have a mindset like this.
I can remember another elder's wife. I think we had one kid, and we were sitting on the floor of our condo in Ogden, and I can remember me laughing about not being a crafty mom, and she just said, "Yeah, you will never be a crafty mom." And it was just like, yeah, I just wasn't. God didn't give me that. Like, I just read books all day. I don't do anything with my hands. It's just beyond my capability, and I'm okay with that. And then Daphne was born a few years later, and I had been taking Titus 2 more seriously. But what was most encouraging about Titus 2 to me was that those skill sets were to be taught. And if something was to be taught, it meant something was to be learned. And if something was to be learned, it seemed to me that I actually could become a crafty mom.
Such a thing is possible.
Such a thing is possible. And not only that, but I don't like, growing in my Christian understanding of anthropology and like even metaphysics and like reality, I understood there is actually goodness to physical things and the physical world. There is more to than just my mind to be cultivated. There's actual virtue that can be learned from not being good at quilting and learning how to quilt.
Yes.
And so for me, that was the first thing. And I mean, this is kind of why we've been joking with my boys recently of like, yeah, mom does have a lot of things that I'm really not good at, but I like doing a lot of things not that great because I understand the value of it now, both for myself and those around me. And occasionally I do find out that I am actually pretty good at one or two things that I would never have been able to bless other people with had I not known or tried to do them.
Absolutely.
So I think for me, I had to see like, actually this is kind of a commandment in some ways from Titus 2. I don't have the option of just being a mom that doesn't do anything with her hands.
Right. The hands are important. In
Some
the
of that, honestly, too, is probably historical ignorance on my end in some ways, just being young and not very aware. But to be fair, though, it was also the culture that we were living in at that time in the church.
Yeah.
Of like, you don't require that of me. I can't do that. And if you're doing that, that's legalism.
And they even make fun of it.
Exactly.
Like
that's why I brought up that conversation.
In the quote unquote gospel centrality, gospel-centered, gospel everything world, there was along with that an egalitarian impulse and a feminist impulse that would actively make fun of classically feminine things. Literally, it would actively make fun of them and say like, yeah, women aren't just knitting and crocheting all the time. They are leaders. Women, you're leaders. You shouldn't be elders now. We're complementarians. But you should be in the elders' meetings for sure. And like, women, you're just like, it was all this. They literally made fun of it. They'd be like, oh, we're not just grandmas with doilies on our heads. And we're just skirts all the time. Like we got our, like they would make fun of all of these classically feminine things. It was an op.
I had an older lady at church literally pull me aside and chastise me for ironing your Sunday clothes for you.
No.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Why?
And then she went on to tell me, well, when you're my age, you'll understand and you'll sleep in separate beds.
Oh my goodness. Was this woman named Satan? What was her name?
I'm not going to tell you.
Was it the Wicked Witch of the West or the East?
I'm not going to tell you.
Was her name Jadis? Queen of Charn?
Probably.
Was her name? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's really terrible.
And the sad thing about it is that if we do live in a world where these things do matter, they matter for relationships, they matter for like meeting the needs of others, they matter for the fact that the Lord just said that they matter and that in and of itself is enough, you will never be able to find satisfaction trying to flee from those things.
Yep.
And so make fun of it all you want. I know deep down you are rejecting some part of your anthropology.
Yeah, your normed creational design.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that 100%.
Like I have known, make fun of me all you want. I have known since I was a little girl, knitting will fulfill me. and
now she's just clickety clickety
so hard for so long to learn how to knit. But really it was a friend of mine that was like, this is hard, but you can do it.
And now you're like knitting up a storm all the time.
But
it's crazy.
This is the thing. And people talk about, well, my little girl, she just isn't very domestic. She wants a job outside of the home. And I start to say things like, has she ever been allowed to just even dream the biggest dream she can domestically and try to fulfill that? Not for herself, in like a prideful way, but what would be satisfying to her? And I've said this to young women that are like, I just don't want to be home. Like, okay, but what if at the end of your life, when you're a grandma, what are the 3 things that you're like, I'm going to be a grandma that does X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And for me, it was baking bread from scratch, wearing an apron and knitting. I don't know why. I didn't have, none of those things were like in my childhood.
And now you do all 3 of them.
And so, but
I've seen you knit in an apron while bread was baking.
There you go. There you go.
Dang.
So I think Titus 2 requires this of us. I think it's also required of us as parents.
Yeah.
Because if there is no such thing as the ability to grow beyond your capacities, well, what's the point of parenting and disciplining our children then?
Yeah, right. God made people like he made trees and birds and animals and grass.
Yeah.
To grow.
Yeah. And there's a book, actually, you can read it by Carol Dweck. I think you do too. We took AP Psych in high school, and I just loved neuroscience. And I read all sorts of neuroscience books in high school because I just thought it was fascinating. And then later on, I came upon, I think it's called growth mindset, but it was applied to dyslexia because there's growing up in our generation, it was, there's no way to fix it.
Yeah.
Just tutor it out and maybe someday they'll get a job, sort of a thing. But today, because of neuroscience, we can actually look at the brain, and God's really cool and kind, and he's like created technology to be a help to us. We can look at the brain and actually see we can literally go in and create synapses in dyslexics' brains that are not there. Like they literally have part of their brain that never connected. But if you're just going to tutor, you're basically just putting a Band-Aid over that brain. You're not fixing anything. And
it's like there was a break in the road and you just kind of walked around it instead of fixing it.
Or you can also read The Woman That Changed Her Brain. I think her last name is Aerosmith. That's another really cool one. Or you can actually figure out how to grow those synapses and totally change it and make them able to do whatever the Lord created them to do. And to me, that's a really big deal. When you're talking about a child's trajectory, and whether or not you are going to help them fill their God-given potential, it matters what you believe about how people change and how God made the body and the brain and what people are and are not able to do. And I don't want to be stuck in that weird Victorian mindset of you're just screwed.
Yeah, it's fundamentally, there's this big which way, oh Western man kind of decision in front of us. And it shows up everywhere, which path you've taken. There's the path of everything just happens to me. I am fundamentally the result of the actions of others. I have no power in anything. The world is against me. I'm going to grumble, and I'm also going to be really anxious. And that person, this is the Lord Jesus telling people, don't be anxious about this. Don't be anxious about that. Don't be anxious about this other thing. They're envious. They're bitter. They're full of grumbling and complaining. And there's that type of mind. Like, first of all, it's really bad in itself in the immediate things it does on the decisions you make. Because if you really believe those things, you won't act. You won't do anything. Because you just believe it won't work anyway. But what's wild is the degree to which that shapes you, not just soul even. Like, it really does warp your soul. But we can tell that literally destroys your body. The mind is so powerful. God made them, think about this. God made the world with words. He is a mind like God. God made people in his image to be able to affect the world around them with words and thoughts. And I'm not talking about telekinesis necessarily. I know that this isn't Haunted Cosmos. I'm talking about literally what you believe often will affect what your body does. We were just talking about this. I wish I had the study because I didn't actually read the study. So this could be overblown, but the summary of it that I read, and I actually believe from the source that it was legit, is that they took groups of people and they would rub like an oak leaf on their arm. And they would tell them while they're rubbing the oak leaf on their arm of one group, this is poisonous.
It's poison ivy.
They would say it's poisonous.
Oh, okay.
And then they would take another leaf and it was poison ivy. And they would rub it on their arm and say, this is harmless. It's just, don't worry about this. It's harmless. We're just testing this. And what was crazy is that in some statistically significant group of people, the people who had the oak leaf rubbed on their arm, they're not allergic to it, nothing. And they were told this is poisonous. They broke out in hives. And then the people that had poison ivy rubbed on them, which seems like a pretty interesting experiment, they didn't have a reaction to it when they were told this is not poisonous. And the point was that like specifically the reaction to poison ivy is an autoimmune type of response. Your body is the thing causing the reaction to it. It's not like venom in the same way. It's actually not poison even. It's like a specific thing that makes your body respond with inflammation and histamines and all this stuff. There are a million examples of this we could give.
Yeah.
Where if you're really anxious and et cetera, you'll die. You'll have a heart attack. You will just die. Like your body will respond by dying. And so much of our lives, if you just decide, like in the name of Jesus Christ, I'm not good at this thing right now, and I'm going to get better at it. Yeah, like you can't just will yourself into being the greatest sprinter of all time. There are limitations to, like, we're not saying everybody is, you can be anything you want. I can grow 6 extra inches tall if I just will myself to. No, but like God made a world where the thoughts we think, the spirit we take into things, they matter. And so growth mindset is just saying, it's so simple. I can grow and get better at something I'm not very good at right now. And something I'm decent at, I could get really good at it. I can learn a new skill. Oh, hey, look, the duties and vocations God gave me, apparently, like ladies, apparently there's a lot of cooking. And I've heard women say, I'm just not good at cooking. Well, did you know that you can learn how to cook? Oh, I'm not very feminine. Like I don't really dress. I don't know. Like I don't do my hair. I don't know how to be, really, I'm not like one of those. I was always kind of a tomboy. Well, did you know that you can learn how to ornament yourself and take care of your physical body so that you could be more attractive to your spouse? There's a limit. Like you can't I'm never going to be as attractive as Tom Brady. And I've come to peace with that. It took a long time. It took years, but I'm at peace with that reality now.
I don't know who Tom Brady is.
I'm so thankful that my wife apparently does not have the internet. She doesn't know how to use it.
No, I do.
She just knits.
I told the ladies, I was like, guess what, guys? I discovered YouTube this year. I discovered you can learn things on YouTube.
She's like Buddy the elf.
So I just gave them this pep talk at book group. I'm like, there's no excuse now. If you don't know something and you can't get in touch with me, you go to YouTube now because we all have YouTube. I know we all have YouTube.
And they're like, Lexi, you just learned about
this was
YouTube?
Like 10 years ago. You know what it was? It was when my friend Jen Dees, my painting friend, I don't know why I never thought of this. She was like, just go watch these painters paint on YouTube. And I was like, what?
No way.
That's amazing.
And now Lexi paints, and she paints stuff that I can tell what it is.
Okay.
I look at it and I go, that's an orange. And she's like, yep, that is an orange. It's not like, nope, that was our house. I know what it is now.
You could do that too, though. You could do that too.
Growth mindset. We could talk about this all day. For men, this is similar, just applied to your vocation. Hey, AI is likely to replace my job in the next 3 years. Cool. I'm screwed. No, you're not. You're actually not. The world God made, you're not screwed. There's a bunch of stuff that you could go figure out and learn how to do. And yet you have to start now and get going on it and maybe learn how to use the tool or whatever it is. And this isn't a commentary on AI, but this is just a good example. A lot of people are really fearful about right now, I think. Growth mindset looks at that and says, well, I guess it's time to go take another course from life and I can grow.
Do you think this is why I know the answer myself, but talk a little bit about the difference between like education as it's been sold to us from the government versus liberal education? Yeah. Because there's two end goals in mind, and having one is always growth mindset and the other one isn't.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of our industrialized education system, we've talked about this in the past. There are lots of errors with it. One of them is this egalitarian error that like everybody is the same, like everybody is pretty much, they need to go through the same process to learn the same outcomes and that kind of thing, and kind of ignores hierarchy in the world and different intellects and different, blah, blah, blah. But one of the big errors that it makes is it gives people, even if it doesn't intend to, it gives people the idea that there's this body of knowledge that you learn between the ages of 5 and 18. And that's like this body of knowledge you pretty much need. And then if you jump through that hoop, then you can go through another hoop in college and learn this other body of knowledge. And that will give you the accreditation and the certification that you are good to go make money in the economy. And so someone will then give you a job because you've jumped through those 2 hoops. So now you have a job and that's good and you have a career. And the liberal arts, a classical education, the way that the West often taught, first of all, it was primarily for elites. It was for royalty and nobility. Nobility and clergy. And a lot of the education for most people actually happened vocationally, where they were learning trades and crafts and how to work in the life of the community to serve people, meet human needs in very necessary, obviously connected to human life kind of ways. Most people did that. They weren't like, and a lot of them, especially over time with the influence of Christianity, learned to read and did things like that as well. But they were learning things that made the world go round to help babies be born and kids and people eat and have clothing and have houses and have commerce, etc. The liberal arts education focused on making free men. Liberal is like freedom, free. You're liberated. And it was giving you the tools of learning where you would learn the trivium and quadrivium, these 7 subjects, 3 very central and then 4 concentrically going out other disciplines. You would learn them, and along the way, you would be learning how to rule yourself. You would be learning how to rule others. You would be learning how to learn, the tools of learning so that you could take them up and go learn anything. And you were becoming a virtuous human being that was enculturating not just knowledge in you, but virtue, including things like a growth mindset. They probably wouldn't have called it that in the Middle Ages, but just this will to go and affect the world around you and lead and rule others as a virtuous man and not a tyrannical, evil man, but a good man going and speaking good words to order the world to good ends. So that was education. And it wasn't ever done. You would then go take those tools and you'd learn a lot of other things and you would order the world around you. And a lot of what you continue to learn would relate to the part of the world you were ordering. Were you a nobleman? You're going to learn a lot about ordering lands and ordering people and managing rulers. And you're going to learn a lot about that. Are you clergy?
I think Dorothy Sayers was the one that said too, part of the goal of a liberal education is to put the tools to continue education in the hands of the student. So it never stops. And that's why she came up with the grammar, the rhetoric, and the
grammar, logic, and rhetoric.
Yes. Because you should be able to take those 3 tools to any subject and learn. And I remember I was like deep in my Dorothy Sayers
arc
era when I started quilting. And I remember talking to the older lady that was teaching me quilting, like, I have no clue what this jargon is that you're using, but I understand the place I should start is with the grammar of the subject. So I literally remember Googling all of these quilting terms because I was like, she's trying to help me, but I don't even know where to go because I don't have the foundation.
Yeah.
So and there is something to be said too from learning by the way, as Charlotte Mason would say. But I think that's a big difference in like even how you view education is, do you have those tools of self-education? Because if you do, there's no excuse. You can learn whatever you set your heart to learn.
That's right. It's again, taking the right spirit to the world. Where as Christians by faith, we believe that the world is fundamentally knowable and that we were made to know it, that there's a correspondence between our minds and the world where our minds can comprehend and apprehend and order and think reasonably, and then we can go and affect the world and do things in it that make sense and bring it to some purpose because God is purposeful and he's a creator and he ordered the world and he gave us tasks and he ordered our minds. So Christians can believe all these things that non-Christians, they can't give a proper accounting for why this would be true. And for example, like an evolutionary materialist worldview, we go out and by faith, we believe that. And then we just say, what are the constituent parts of any subject? What are the rules of it? Like before I play Monopoly, I need to know the rules. Before I go and make money, I need to learn like how money works. Before I go and, what is being a plumber? Well, it's being a plumber, but then it's also being a salesman. It's also understanding human psychology. How does a human being relate to somebody coming into their home to plumb something, and what is likely to get me good reviews in terms of how I behave and speak and look, and what my van looks like, and what my customer service pipeline looks like. And all of a sudden, a man who's thinking well with a growth mindset, he might not know anything about marketing. He might not know anything about SEO and Google reviews. He might not know anything about customer service and sales, but as he goes by the way and he takes these skills to that task, a wise man can, with the growth mindset, properly master all of the constituent parts of that business, and then even know himself. I am good at this aspect of it, but you know what would really multiply this business? Salespeople. Because I'm not really great at sales, and I've learned some things, and I could get by as a sole proprietor business, the only guy in the business. But that would really help. Let me see if I can make that work. How would I pay that person? Well, they'd have to generate this much more work for me. What about an apprentice? Would that help me? And then he could learn. And what if I hired somebody else? What if I managed plumbers instead of just plumbed myself? Knowing where you fit in that is all wisdom and growth. And sometimes a growth mindset looks at a thing and goes, I'm not actually the right answer to that problem, but someone else is. That can be a growth thing too.
Yes.
It's not me. I'm not always the answer to everything because I'm not God.
Yes.
Humility. We're getting into a lot here of another aspect. We've talked about this a little bit, but I want to put a point to it, which is agency. Agency is a part of a growth mindset, but agency is basically the belief that I can act and affect things positively to the ends I've appointed for them. Agency is the willingness to make a decision and go and act on it instead of being acted upon all of the time. Men and women would be served greatly in their vocations by virtue of agency. I'll give an example, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it. So let's say you're a lady and you're in a house that is economy stuff. You move in a house, it's kind of a fixer-upper. There's a lot of stuff that you don't like about it. And it's not serving everybody maximally. And so someone without agency would just fuss. They'd say, my husband got me this terrible house. This house sucks. I hate the way this kitchen is. I hate the way this color wall is, blah, blah, blah. And just fuss about it. They would fuss and fuss and fuss and fuss. Someone with agency would go in a growth mindset. They would say, okay, let me pick something. What's the biggest problem? And then they would say, I actually can affect this. And then they would say, they'd be realistic. How much money do I have to do this? Husband, how much money do I have? Is there any money? And maybe he says there's no money for that. And you say, what can I do for free?
Because there are things.
Lots of things. In fact, you'll find a lot of the time that free can get a lot done if you're willing to work.
Yes.
And make a decision and learn and go and act and, et cetera. Maybe trade. Maybe there's a guy in your church that could do something, but you can't pay him. And you say, is there something you'd be willing to trade that I could do or help you with? I'll bake you a loaf of sourdough bread every week for, I don't know. Make sure you're not taking advantage of your friends. You see what I mean? It's agency. Yeah. It's the decision it's the will to act. So where else, Lexy, do you see in the homemaker's life where a lack of agency just wrecks all and where agency can really make a big difference?
Maybe it's because we are in the time of year that we're in, but I see this so often with women in sickness.
Okay.
In seasons of sickness in the home where it becomes like it's all happening to me. And so now I'm a victim of all of the circumstances and the lack of sleep, and nothing can be done. And it's going to take months to get out of this hole. And that's not true. I mean, you can wake up and tell yourself that, or you can wake up and say, sickness is a season of life, but it is really part of life. And just like every other part of life, it deserves being dignified as well. Maybe I should get dressed today. Maybe I should figure out how to get a homemade but simple dinner on the table so we're not ordering Costa Vida again tonight. Maybe when I feel good next month, I have a plan now to can 2 meals that are on the shelf. So next time I don't feel I can actually rest a little bit more and not have to be on my feet cooking and drag this out longer. Yep. I think that's a really big one. Because we kind of always think the Calvary is coming to save us without realizing no, your part in this is being the responsible party.
Even learning in our experience, okay, this kid had asthma. And so we ended up in doctor's offices and even ER visits occasionally. And that continued until we looked at it and said, what are they doing when we go to the doctor? Well, they're doing this, this, and this. One of those things we can't do because it's like a prescription thing. But also we don't really like that thing. It's really bad when we look into it, this medication. But you know what we could do? We could do this. We could get a nebulizer and we could learn how to do this thing that they're doing. It doesn't look that complicated. And then we could also learn, how are they diagnosing whether this is an emergency or not?
You know how they say they don't make things like they used to? Well, now we do. Edwin's Heirlooms is a family-run business that provides handmade wooden toys for all ages. From stick horses and push-pull toys to tabletop board games for the whole family, all crafted from sturdy materials that ensure heirloom quality and a vintage feel. They're aiming to bring back nostalgia and imagination to the things we play with. When you buy Edwin's Heirlooms, you buy love handed down. Explore the full catalog at edwinsheirlooms.com and use code HEARTH, all caps HEARTH, for 10% off your order. When you have a busy house, the immediate demands of activities, events, and never-ending to-do lists can overshadow critical long-term decisions. Life insurance, financial planning, education savings, and retirement are continually backburnered. Joe Garrissey and his team from Backwards Planning Financial will help you maximize financial tools, management, and strategies so you can focus on your home and have confidence for your financial future. Visit backwardspanningfinancial.com. That is backwardspanningfinancial.com, or call 615-767-2555 to speak with Joe to develop a plan for the future. A good morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. You read your Bible, review your to-do list, and drink a great cup of coffee. So why would you want bad-tasting, mass-produced coffee? Lux Coffee is a Christian-owned coffee roaster that offers intentionally sourced, single-origin coffee beans. They believe that convenience is the death of quality. That's why they spend their time roasting small batches of beans to make sure that every cup of coffee tastes delicious. Start your day with coffee that is crafted for the new Christendom. You can go to luxcoffee.co and use code NCP15, that's all caps, NCP15, for 15% off your handcrafted coffee. And of course, that link is in the description below.
And whether it's it sucks, but you're going to be fine, no one's going to die, or like, no, I need the ER. That's a really important thing to understand. Mm-hmm. Agency said, and then a growth mindset said, I'm willing to learn about this thing. And basically that made it so we were never in the ER again with that issue.
And people will still say, who do you go when you take your kids to the doctor? I'm like, I don't.
We don't. And it's not because we don't believe there's ever a place for it. It's just because when you're really young and you know nothing, which we knew very little about any of this. We were normies, like just having kids and figuring life out. But then we were like, well, we could learn about this. And you did learn. And then you said, okay, we can do that thing that they were doing. We can learn about what is this other intervention they're doing supposed to do. Is there something else we could do that may be even better? And over time, the arsenal grows, and that's just one thing. It's just home health.
Yeah.
Norovirus. We learned things about the use of bleach.
And some of this is like not interesting to me at all. I remember having to learn, the doctor teaching me taking notes. I had to figure out how to measure his lung capacity and keep it at capacity for months while we were weaning off medications because it was so dangerous. That was like one of the first medical things where I was like, Lord, I don't want to do this at all. It is very scary. And it was right when COVID happened. So we genuinely didn't know it was the first 6 weeks. We were like, well, is this deadly or is this not? Because if so, we probably shouldn't be weaning him, but we took the step of faith. But I remember just being like, I don't want to do this, Lord, but you please help me succeed in understanding this because I'm not a medical doctor. I haven't been to school for this. Help me understand how to measure his lung capacity.
A lot of this as well has to do with humility.
Yes.
You've got a growth mindset, agency, and humility. Because humility is very much required in all of this because it starts with the assumption that I actually don't know a lot. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us deal with this. It's kind of an insecurity, I think. It's pride, it's insecurity. They're related of like, oh, I don't need to learn. I don't need to know anything. But the best people I know, like the most fruitful people, they'll ask a bunch of questions of wait, how did you do that? I have no idea how to do that. There's a humility to recognize I actually don't have a skill. Mm-hmm. I don't know much. Like I've heard a million times, this is going to be kind of offensive.
Uh-oh.
I've heard really obviously fat people talk a lot, like jump into conversations about like exercise and weight loss and stuff. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? If you know this stuff really well, you're talking like you do. Hello, nobody believes you because you're not doing any of it. So why should I listen to you? Because why would I listen to a really, like if you had a personal trainer who was morbidly obese, why would you hire that guy? Even if he knew everything, you still would have a barrier because you'd go, there's something lacking here. A lot of the time, we have to have humility on one of two fronts. It's either the humility to say, I don't know something, and that's a good thing to admit, or the humility to recognize that I do know something, and the problem is that I'm not virtuous. The problem is that I'm actually I'm not living in accord with my knowledge. Mm-hmm. I know how to fix this problem. I just won't do it because I'm not virtuous yet. Mm-hmm. Both of those are pretty humbling thoughts, mm-hmm. But you can't, a wife, a husband, neither one of them is really going to grow much or bear the best fruit they could if they won't do those two things actually quite frequently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which feels, I don't know, I always feel a little scatterbrained because I knew my propensity for so long was just, for me, it wasn't lack of humility in the sense of, I wanted to look better. It was embarrassment, actually. Like, I don't want to be an imposition. I don't want to. I had to get over that. And Lindsay has helped me so much with this over the years. Just being gracious and generous and always cheerful with her time. And for me, that has translated into other areas. I'm not even just talking about knitting at this point. But I think I just lost where I was.
Humility. Admitting you don't know something. Being embarrassed about asking.
Before that, though. Sorry, guys.
Right now, we're going to be humble and admit that we don't know.
I don't know what we're talking about.
And that's okay.
Move on.
To move on. Because humility is really important.
Dang it.
To bring that spirit to your vocations. No, it's true. I see this all the time in my own instincts where I'm like,
oh, I know what I was going to say.
Too proud to say, but I'm actually not good at that. And this person really is. It's this instinct to give honor, to learn. It's so important because I said earlier that a lot of the time, a growth mindset, agency, ownership, these things actually result in you admitting that you're not the answer to the problem. Mm-hmm. That can be really hard to do, but it's so much more effective when you recognize God did not make me the solution to every problem in my life.
Yes.
He made other people the solution to a lot of those problems. And so if I will, like in our home, as one example, I am not great at many, many like handy things. I will try to learn them and I will do them. And at times in our life when we were utterly broke, like I would do everything I can.
You have done a lot of things though.
I can learn it. I don't want to say I can't learn these things either as an excuse. But there does come a time where I've had to recognize that I'm going to limit the effectiveness, even of my wife as one of my deputies, if I don't tell her that is a good thing we need to get done. Here's the budget for it. I'm not going to do it. But you have my permission. Just tell me before you spend money on it so that I can make sure that I have money to give you to do that thing. But it's not always pleasant to be like, yeah, here comes this other guy to do something for me. Part of me wants to be like, I could do it. I could do that hot water heater. And like, the thing is, I could genuinely, like I could have figured out, our hot water heater went out recently. I could have figured out how to do it. I know people who've done their own hot water heaters. It's on YouTube. You can learn anything. But there is a kind of wisdom of knowing I could do that. It's going to take me about 2 days. And when it's done, I'm still going to be like, Carter, can you come make sure I'm not killing everybody with carbon monoxide? And that's fine. He'd be nice. But then I thought, Carter is a great plumber at our church.
just go support.
He's
another
really
Christian.
good. I'm going to spend a little bit more money to have it done, probably. But am I? Because what if I do it totally wrong?
Yeah.
And then I have to spend the money again.
Yeah.
So there's a humility aspect of just recognizing like, I ain't it. I'm not the answer to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what you were going to say?
Yeah. I was just going to say that sometimes with having a growth mindset, I've had to be okay with the scatterbrained feeling sometimes, or like, I don't even know. Like I keep telling the young moms at church, it's okay that your children are home trying to learn a lot of different things in your home. It's okay that, yes, you need a system for containing the mess and cleaning up the mess, but it's also okay that there's a mess a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because you also want them knowing humans actually try to learn new things, and it's not like the end goal of the house isn't keeping the house clean.
That's right.
And so I have had to, like, there's been in different seasons where I've had to be like, it's just okay that this is how things are, because this is part of being human. I'm inviting other people into this hospitality. I told them recently, like, don't be surprised if you come over to my house for dinner and there might be like mud at the back door. It's because my kids live here, and yes, they helped me get ready for you, but they also lived here today.
Yeah.
And so there's a temptation for some people, I think, because of the awkwardness of a growth mindset. You go through these awkward, gangly stages of, you don't have systems. Like the thing for me right now is I'm not good enough at painting yet to have a system to know when to stop. So I can only paint when I can finish it fully. I still don't understand how to stop and put the palette away with the plastic. I need to figure that out. I could paint more if I did that. I don't know how to right now. It's an awkward stage of painting.
Yeah.
But if some people won't go through that awkward stage, they won't ever learn anything.
Right.
And the thing is, you can go listen to Huberman on this. He has some really good episodes on like just how we learn.
Yeah.
Your brain doesn't it's not the repetition. It's, you have to push your brain to the point of failure, essentially, of like, this isn't working and I failed at this.
Yeah.
I have to go back and pull out half of the sweater now. That's when the dopamine happens, is when you're getting to the point of failure. But if you won't even try because your biggest priority is like, I don't know, clean house, or like you feel like it's a waste of finances or whatever, you're never going to get there, because you just have to go through the awkward teenage stage of learning that thing.
Right.
So, and I think some people will just want to avoid that altogether because they're like, well, I don't want to look silly, or that is too messy. I don't want to have to deal with that. But for me, it's really important that my kids, I mean, that's why that sits out there, is because I want them to know, I'm pointing to my
your easel.
My easel. Because I want them to know, no, there is ways in the small corners of life to figure out new things.
Yeah.
If you're always waiting for some ideal season, it's not going to happen. And I want them to know that too, because that's what's equipping them as humans going into their own adulthood.
Yeah, that's right. And it's also on related to this, it's going to sound like I'm discouraging people from doing what we just said to do. But this is another important mindset, spirit to take to in discipline, and that's follow through.
Yes.
And consistency. Because there's an archetypal person who they start a new thing every month and they finish precisely 0% of the things they start. Because it's really fun to start things. It's really, really hard to keep doing them or to finish them.
I don't know if I talked about this on here, but I did tell Jen, again, my painting friend, over Christmas, I texted her and I said, I'm just kind of laughing at the sovereignty of God in all of this, because when I first tried to contact you about painting, I had my third baby was born. Mm-hmm. I was still trying to get dinner on the table regularly. I had no business, no systems in place, hadn't homeschooled yet. I genuinely had no business learning to oil paint of all of the things. So me trying to figure that out, the Lord was like, we'll give you 10 years.
Give it a decade, Lexy. Hey, Lexy, good thought. Bad timing.
But like seeing it now and seeing how I have the systems for the basics in place, that isn't an issue for me. I know the only way this is going to happen is in the small chunks of time. I mean, I told you even recently, the ideal is waking up before everybody and painting. That's where I'm trying to figure out how to still get to there.
Yeah.
But I know I have a slot because I've practiced all of these other things for so long that that's no longer an issue for me. And for me, I kind of can figure out that capacity a lot easier. It's a sorting tool for me now of like, can I pull this in or not? Is this not the season? Is it the season? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And this is another aspect.
Why are you laughing? Why are you over there laughing at me?
Well, because it's just funny that it's so true that God's kindness of like, no, not now. You're going to do it. Just hang on.
And also,
because that's you. You're a whoa, not a giddy up.
Yes. And also it helps. It was just like, kind of like this house. I knew I was the Lord's princess. I knew he was going to give me a house that I loved.
This is Lexy's mindset. No, it's actually a good point, that the belief that God likes to bless his people.
No, I walked around this yard and I thought, we are Adam and Eve. He wants to give me a garden. There's a lamppost at the park up the street. It's like Narnia. This is my house, Lord. I know it is. I know it is. And that's kind of what it was like with the oil painting of, it is a good gift. It is a desire that the Lord put in my heart as a young person, but he just said, not yet. But now is the time, and it's okay. It's not a bad thing. I don't need to feel ashamed or bad that I spend my free time painting bad paintings.
Yeah, and the way to think about this is that there's another virtue or another type aspect of the Spirit to bring to vocations, and that is a rightly ordered love and wisdom.
Yes.
To say, if you are a young man, or maybe even not a young man, and you look around your estate and you see that you're not doing that great financially, and you're not leading well in family religion, and there's a bunch of things you go, that is not the time to become an expert at the local militia. It's not a time to be like, I'm now going to become an expert in the assembly of the perfect battle rifle and sidearm, and I'm going to learn small unit tactics, and I'm going to go and become till I can shoot expert with rifle and pistol. I'm going to go. Those are all actually really great things. Those are great masculine arts that are classically good for a man to learn, the martial arts of his time, right? Which in our day means knowing how to use a rifle, a sidearm. I would recommend that for sure. But knowing when. So a guy shouldn't start going in an evening a week or 2 evenings a week or using his Saturday to go do that if he's not providing well yet. You have to start at the center of your vocations with all these mindsets, because it's fun to use the growth mindset and the agency and the responsibility and the humility and all of that to go learn something fun, like painting for a woman. But is dinner really good? Or are people like nodding their head and politely smiling every night that dinner was great, honey, thank you, and it sucked. It was actually bad and no one liked it. And laundry's rarely done. And those are the center. The people aren't being fed and clothed well, and your kids look disheveled all the time and they're not obedient. Okay, for a husband or a wife, think of the center of the vocations, become competent there, and then you can start adding these other things that are the overflow, they're the glories. So I'm actually talking first about the central vocations, getting this mindset applied to them.
Yes.
And then see what happens, and you can become very well-rounded, and there's a bunch of other stuff.
Anything I've learned, I've never taken from my children's time. It's always been when they're sleeping.
Yeah, that's true. It's from your own discretionary time.
Correct. Either I get up earlier because I really want to learn that, or I do it during nap time, or I do it after they're in bed at night.
And that's even true of like the book, the good work there of like, hey, we were talking, you're my helper. I'm like, I think this would be a great resource for our church. I think, not everybody's husband is a publishing guy. I am.
Yeah.
You're my helper. Okay, here, I think this would be really helpful. I'll help organize, get it edited, all that.
Even like reading Skole every day was just a good reminder of, it's a good habit for people to commonplace, for humans that are made in the image of God, who thrive on ideas, to commonplace. And so even just spending my Saturdays going back through the books that I've read for the years that I'm like, this would be a good book to write. All of that is just purely based on my free time that I like to spend commonplacing. But it's a good example too of where I think the Lord can use that interest in the world as an overflow to bless people.
Yep. And especially when it's not taking away from the center. The center's going well, and now it is a fruit of the center.
Yes.
You don't want to do it the other direction.
No.
Okay. Don't want to do it the other direction. And people justify this all the time. They're like, yeah, but if I got really good at small unit tactics and like all that, I could start an Instagram account and get it monetized. And then like, maybe that could be really good income. Yeah. But you're an accountant.
That's an example of,
You know what I mean? Like you're getting it in the wrong order. Maybe that could work. Low probability. Okay. But like start in the middle. Okay. Start in the center. We're running out of time. I want to close with just one more. This is the all-encompassing, most important thing. And it's obvious because it's what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 13, is that you can do all this right, but if you don't love, if you're not doing it for the motive of love, it's a noise. It's just noisy, clanging gong. Paul says you are nothing and you gain nothing. So all of this really has to be done for the love of your God and your people. That's it. Like Are you learning how to knit because you love God and you love people? Mm-hmm. Are you learning how to do whatever it is you're doing? Like, are you bringing it to bear on the world because in the name of Jesus Christ, you, having been loved well by the Lord Jesus, want to love the people he's put in front of you well?
Yeah, and I want to circle back around to what I said about Daphne and learning to quilt, was that that was precisely what I realized I didn't have. Was I had my first daughter, and I felt like I had no feminine inheritance to pass down to her. But because I loved her, I knew I needed to go through those awkward stages of learning those things so I could have something for her.
Yes. And there's no manual to this. I think I'll point to these sermons because by the time this comes out, I believe it's like March 23rd that this episode is going to come out. I've been preaching through 1 Corinthians. I preached 3 sermons. I've preached 2 of them as we record this. Lord willing, the third one will also get out. But if you want to go listen to what I think is a very good reminder for all of us from Paul, you can go listen to those 3 sermons. 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3, then 4-7, and then 8-13. Those 3 sermons, you can find them at refugeutah.org and other places too. But that's probably the easiest. They're a podcast version or whatever. But go listen to those sermons if you need to brush up on that, like that center, that the point is to love, because really this is the thing without which we're literally wasting our time. It's just a waste, and to really focus on that first. And if you get that right, you will often find that the rest follows, because people who really love their people will work hard and go learn new things and be humble and
do it in an ordered way.
It's not just selfish. I'm going to go learn, If you love, you will go and work hard and learn. You'll take whatever gifts the Lord gave you and you will put them on the altar and you will use them for his glory. This is why the Lord Jesus Christ said that you can sum up the whole law in the love of neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. The fulfillment of the whole law is the fulfillment of that. And he said to love the Lord your God is the greatest and love your neighbor is the second. But there, at one point, he sums up the whole thing based on that second most important law. Because how can you love people well if you don't love God is kind of the implication. But we really need to get this right. And if we get it right, then we'll get over ourselves. We'll be humble. We'll serve other people. We will learn these skills and pour our strength out for the sake of the people. And then go and do what thou wilt. Because if you have the right motive, then go pursue the desires of your heart. Mm-hmm. Because they will be good.
Wheel painting, the desires of your heart.
And it's funny because it is so, but I love it. I love that you oil paint. I love that you do the things that you do, because I think that they are human. They're beautiful.
I get excited when my children, because I was doing a small series, I was trying to paint figures of the kids, and they're like, I know exactly who that is, and it looks just like them because of the way they're holding their hand.
And you were like,
and I love that stuff.
That's awesome.
I love it.
I did it.
I want them to see that I think our life here in this house is something worth preserving in some way.
It's funny. It's the same reason that I wrote Hearth Songs, the album. Same idea.
Only you're way better.
No, that's not true. I want my kids to know that this is worth singing a song about.
Yes, exactly.
This is what it's about.
Oh my gosh. I came across the best section in the Arts by Van Loon on how he thinks the still life was created.
Okay.
And it was because you remember that still life I did recently of the hydrangeas and the fish?
Yes.
Okay. It reminded me of that. But he was saying somebody saw the dead fish on the counter and it reminded them of their mother's kitchen and they loved it. So they bought the still life of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's exactly it.
It's
That's
true.
what it is.
It's why I wanted to buy that painting that was $20,000. And so I was $19,997 short. But it was of the little girl with the head covering coming out of church.
I know, that is one of my favorite paintings you've ever found.
One day. If one of you wants to go find it and just, I don't know, donate it to Bright Hearth. Maybe. I think it was.
One day, we talked about it a while ago. It would be really cool to have a private gallery, though.
It would. Yeah, what do you invest in, Brian? Like the S&P 500? What do you... No, I put all of my money into obscure 17th and 18th century oil paintings.
That's still my favorite one, which is probably the most obscure of all of them. And you're always like, why is it that one?
No, I love that one. It was... I got you that painting for your birthday.
A mill. I don't remember when you got me that
Christmas or your birthday. It's a
mill.
It's a 19th century painting from France of just a mill on a river. And it wasn't that much. It was a small painting in a beat up frame, but it's a real painting and it's like 150, 200 years old. So I think it's cool. But it was from a time when a painter was a real common vocation, that a person would paint scenes like this and sell them, and they would have many of them. And so there are many, many paintings like this out there in the world that you can still find from that. And I like to look at a painting like that and think about the person sitting there, especially now that I see you paint and putting the paint down on the canvas.
You know why I like it is because baking bread is such a big part of my vocation that I see that and I'm like, baking bread is beautiful. There's a mill. This is what it looks like.
This is how they did it. That's how they got their flour right there.
Right there.
To nourish the world. Well, guys, I think that's the most logical. 19th century paintings is really the most logical place to end this episode. So thanks for listening. Lexy is going to be doing an In the Kitchen episode along with this on some of the biggest attitude changes, more autobiographically, that unlocked new levels, like realizations in her own homemaking spirit to grow as a wife and mother and all those other things. And so if you like what we do at Bright Hearth, and why wouldn't you, first of all? Because, I mean, wow. What a show. I'm just kidding. If you like it and you want to help keep making this show possible, you can do that through our Patreon channel and become a patron of the show. And as a thank you, we do this weekly in the kitchen, just a short little snippet of some granular thing that we think is important along with the episode. And our patrons do get these main episodes early and ad-free. Every Monday, they get a new ad-free early episode. And then the next day, Tuesday, they get it in the kitchen. Just sometimes 5, 10, 15 minutes talking through some aspect of life like that. So we hope it's been helpful, guys. We hope that you'll consider supporting the great Christian sponsors and businesses that also support every episode of Bright Hearth. And we are very thankful to them and think their services and products are really worth supporting. So make sure you check those out as well, and give some of your business to some of these guys and help real Christian like-minded families around the nation make ends meet. So thanks for listening, guys. We hope it was helpful. We'll catch you next time on Bright Hearth.